Attracting another person is often simpler than it seems. You might think that exceptional beauty, wealth, or a magnetically charismatic personality is required to fall in love or win someone over. But the truth is that there are scientifically validated tools for communicating interpersonal attraction that each of us can learn to use. It's simply a matter of understanding these psychological shortcuts and applying them with ethics and elegance during social interactions with that special person. That's exactly what you'll discover in this video. The culmination of over 5 years of research and the integration of fascinating interdisciplinary findings on the dynamics of human attraction, condensed into 10 highly effective habits to spark romantic interest and appeal in virtually anyone you meet. From the power of a simple smile or asking the right question to body language techniques for conveying attraction non-verbally, I've taught these field-tested methods in my intensive seminars to thousands of single or partnered individuals, helping them dramatically improve their love lives. Compiling this knowledge took hours of study, so I ask for your utmost gratitude by leaving a like and a thoughtful comment. Over the years, many participants have repeatedly asked, are there truly solid scientific studies behind these tips, or are they just baseless speculation? To address this in this video, I won't just focus on the practical application of each tool. I'll also dive deeply into the existing empirical research supporting them, referencing concrete, reproducible studies that demonstrate their real effectiveness. Not speculation, but solid data. For example, you'll discover that the simple act of maintaining firm yet warm eye contact with someone for an extended period can literally double mutual feelings of attraction and interest. This is due to a massive release of oxytocin, the so-called love hormone, in our brains and those of the other person when we share sustained gazes. If you're already feeling butterflies for someone, this insight will be crucial for taking things to the next level. I'll provide strategic tips to maximize this neurochemical connection through eye contact. Or perhaps you intuitively suspected that smiling makes us generally more attractive, but you likely didn't know that multiple studies have found that smiles increase facial attractiveness by an average of 13% compared to a neutral expression. We'll analyze why this is, with research linking smiles to greater perceived confidence, extroversion, and competence. I'll also teach you how to strategically incorporate more smiling into interactions with someone you're interested in to contagiously convey these positive qualities. And this is just scratching the surface of what we'll explore. We'll also cover topics like the power of doing occasional favors to activate the rule of reciprocity, increasing the likelihood that someone will want to go out with you. One study found that when a stranger performed a favor for speed dating participants, their chances of agreeing to a future date doubled. We'll analyze why this works psychologically and how to implement it ethically. You won't want to miss the surprising effect that wearing certain colors has on maximizing your appeal and highlighting desirable personality traits according to science. For instance, did you know that red shirts and accessories can make you up to 20% more seductive? We'll examine fascinating research on the implicit psychology of color and how to apply it to make your best first impression. The critical importance of refining your kinetic movements and posture to communicate qualities like confidence and sensuality will also be covered. For example, did you know that walking just 5% slower than average is enough for others to unconsciously perceive you as a person of higher status, even if they don't know you? We'll look at multiple studies confirming these patterns and how you can hack your movements to captivate. Ultimately, you'll uncover literally groundbreaking insights that will enable you to master the delicate human ritual of sparking deep attraction in others, all explained in a practical, entertaining, and immersive way, backed by the best modern scientific evidence. So, buckle up, because this will be a fascinating journey into the psychology of what attracts us and why. We'll enrich it with real-life stories and dynamics to help you naturally and flexibly integrate each key concept into your own experience. Don't stay in doubt for another day. Let's get to work. Here are 10 tips that can change your love story forever. 1. Smile more to appear more attractive, confident, and sociable. Smiles have a profound effect on how others perceive and interact with us. Numerous scientific studies have shown that smiling more can make us appear more attractive, confident, sociable, trustworthy, and successful. Understanding why smiles work and applying this knowledge in our daily lives can make a significant difference in our interpersonal and romantic relationships. A meta-analysis of 48 studies on attractiveness and smiling, conducted by psychologists Nicholas and Alicia Mileva, found that people who smiled more in photos were consistently rated as more attractive, 2021. Another study discovered that when participants were shown identical facial images of the same person, some smiling, some not, the smiling faces were rated as more attractive in 13% of cases, Rice and H. 1990. Why do we perceive those who smile as more attractive? Several explanations exist. One theory is that smiles convey information about a person's character, making them seem friendlier, warmer, and more suitable as a potential romantic partner or friend. Another theory suggests that activating certain facial muscles while smiling makes features more symmetrical and harmonious, triggering our innate perception of beauty. Scott, 2014. Beyond physical traits, smiling can also make others perceive us as more confident. A study led by social psychologist Dr. Paul Ekman showed that when photos of the same person in a neutral pose and then smiling were presented, participants consistently rated the smiling photo as belonging to someone with higher self-esteem. Just 2014. This suggests that smiling projects confidence and personal security. Smiling also makes us appear more sociable and extroverted. In an experiment where strangers briefly interacted in pairs and were then shown photos of their partners, participants whose photos showed genuine smiles were consistently rated as more extroverted and sociable. Bazir, 2009. Thus, a simple smile can say a lot about how others perceive our personality. Finally, research shows that we trust people who smile more than those who don't. A study from State University analyzed impressions university professors made on students based on whether they smiled in their online profile photos. Smiling professors were perceived as more trustworthy, responsible, and effective. Schmid, 2012. Thus, a smile can make the difference between someone trusting us or not. Together, the science makes it clear that there are enormous social and psychological benefits to the simple act of smiling. Now, how can we apply this to attract potential romantic partners or friends? Here are some practical tips. Practice smiling more when interacting with someone you're interested in. Remember to make eye contact and smile genuinely rather than forcing it, signaling interest and warmth. Ensure you smile in your online dating profiles and social media photos. Your smile could be the difference between someone swiping right or left. Smile and greet warmly when meeting someone new. Your smile will be the first thing they notice and will significantly influence their first impression. Always smile when greeting or parting at a date. It can enhance your appeal in their eyes and their interest. Leaving without smiling can convey coldness. When saying goodbye at the end of a date, ensure you smile. This can reinforce your attractiveness in the other person's mind and their interest in you. Smiling more when talking to someone you're attracted to signals sociability, engagement, and trustworthiness. On a biological level, smiling releases endorphins in the brain, boosting your mood as well. So use this evidence-based information to enhance your social and romantic interactions and smile more at the world. 2. Make more eye contact to release oxytocin. The love hormone eye contact plays a crucial role in human attraction and love at first sight. Looking someone in the eyes for extended periods triggers the release of oxytocin, the same hormone released when a mother breastfeeds her baby. This hormone is sometimes called the love hormone due to its role in facilitating feelings of attachment and intimacy. Understanding the science behind eye contact allows us to use it intentionally to signal romantic interest and intensify emotional connection. Studies show that prolonged mutual eye contact rapidly strengthens feelings of attraction between two people. One experiment asked strangers of the opposite sex to maintain eye contact for 2 consecutive minutes while recording their brain activity. Researchers found a marked increase in activity in brain areas linked to the reward system and romantic arousal. Kellerman, 1989. Another study found that feelings of attraction were stronger between opposite-sex individuals who maintained mutual eye contact for at least 10 seconds compared to those with less eye contact. Mason, 2005. It's been proven that someone looking directly into our eyes triggers a physiological response and pupil dilation, indicating involuntary arousal. Borgen, 1989. This is why flirting through eye contact is a universal and powerful courtship ritual among humans. It quickly primes us to feel attraction and interest when someone we like returns and sustains our gaze. Why does eye contact work so well to increase romantic interest and attraction? Partly, it has to do with oxytocin, the love hormone released when a mother nurses or when we fall in love. One study found that when women maintained prolonged eye contact with photos of men they found attractive, their oxytocin levels, measured through saliva samples, increased substantially. The more attractive they found the man, the higher the oxytocin spike when looking into his eyes. Kim, 2019. Another study measured oxytocin levels in the brains of men and women as their partners looked into their eyes for an extended period. Researchers found peaks in oxytocin activity in areas linked to reward processing and emotional bonding. Schneiderman, 2012. Thus, part of why gazing deeply into someone's eyes attracts us has to do with biochemistry that facilitates emotional attachment with that person. On a psychological level, eye contact also signals and intensifies interest, attention, and perceived interpersonal understanding. Studies confirm that when someone is romantically interested in us, they spend more time looking into our eyes when speaking. Kleinker, 1986. Lovers also tend to look into each other's eyes far more during conversation than mere friends or strangers. Eye contact also facilitates the feeling that someone is truly listening and understanding us. An experiment measured impressions people left on strangers after interacting for 3 minutes. Participants who maintained relaxed but firm eye contact were consistently perceived as better listeners and more empathetic. Hemsley, 1992. This applies to potential romantic interests as much as to friends or colleagues. So, how can we apply these scientific lessons to better use eye contact when flirting to spark attraction and facilitate deeper connections? Here are some tips. When meeting someone you're attracted to, look directly into their eyes when speaking and listening. This communicates interest and helps foster a connection. Don't be afraid to maintain prolonged eye contact. Studies show that even staring for more than 10 seconds can increase attraction if it's mutual. During a date, maintain a consistent level of interested eye contact while talking to each other. This signals attention and facilitates intimate moments. Incorporate eye contact into flirting. For example, you might give a compliment and hold eye contact for a few seconds to intensify its impact. The more attracted you are to someone, the more time you should spend looking into their eyes while communicating. Don't forget to smile as well to balance the intensity of the gaze. For truly intimate moments like hugs or kisses, look intensely into your partner's eyes for a few seconds beforehand as a prelude. This will heighten emotional closeness. It's also important to remember that eye contact has a diminishing returns curve. It's effective up to a point, after which staring too intensely can become uncomfortable or overwhelming. One study found that 3 seconds was the optimal point for attraction versus discomfort when looking someone directly in the eyes for the first time. Mason, 2005. So don't overdo it with an intense stare. 3. Lean toward the other person to show interest, intimacy, and attraction. Our body language and posture communicate powerful interpersonal messages that can either draw others toward us or push them away. In particular, the act of leaning slightly toward someone while speaking conveys valuable social information, especially in the context of attraction and flirting. Various studies confirm that leaning forward during conversation is universally interpreted as a sign of attraction, interest, comfort, and openness. Conversely, physically pulling back or leaning away is consistently interpreted as coldness, boredom, or lack of interest. An experiment conducted by researchers at the University of California, San Diego, explored how posture and body orientation were interpreted in the context of speed dating. Coker and Burgoon, 1987. In this study, when participants leaned forward with an open posture while interacting, they were judged by their partners as more attractive, expressive, and receptive. Researchers measured this through participant questionnaires, video observations by neutral third parties, and even monitoring unconscious body language and physiological reflexes. Another study on the implicit meaning of body postures during interaction found very similar results. Mehrabian, 1968. This classic social psychology experiment discovered that open, forward-leaning postures denote far more positive attitudes and make the recipient feel better about themselves and the communicator. This could be one reason why leaning conveys interest and attraction so effectively. At a neurobiological level, the connection between open, forward-leaning postures and social interest also makes sense. To show vulnerability and open up to others, our body must first assess the environment as safe enough. The act of exposing vital body areas by leaning toward someone is facilitated by the release of oxytocin, the same hormone that helps us form close social bonds and romantic relationships. Morgan, 2008. Thus, This social connection biochemistry sets the stage for courtship rituals like eye contact and smiling to be more effective in communicating desire and intimacy. In fact, when people feel comfortable and there's mutual attraction or romantic interest, they tend to naturally coordinate these gestures in an unconscious choreography of flirting. Studies show that when conversing with close friends or romantic interests, we tend to smile more, make more eye contact, and adopt more open, forward-leaning body postures compared to when speaking with strangers or less likable people, Lafrance and Chartrand, 2003. This body language synchrony is both a cause and effect of the intimacy and connection we feel towards certain special people in our lives. So, how can we intentionally apply this science-based information to increase the interest and attraction others feel toward us in social or romantic contexts? Here are 5 helpful tips for strategically using leaning postures to project attraction. Adopt a relaxed but forward-leaning posture when meeting someone you're interested in at a bar or social event. This open body language will contagiously convey interest. During a first date, show accessibility by subtly orienting your body toward the other person during conversation. Contrast this by leaning in to whisper a compliment. The more comfortable you feel with someone, the more pronounced your leaning posture can be to generate closeness. For example, you might lightly rest your shoulder against the other person's. Incorporate the leaning gesture during key moments like greetings or pauses in conversation to emphasize interest. Synchronize forward leaning with other flirting rituals like eye contact, smiles, or fleeting touches to amplify the seductive effect. It's important to emphasize that forward body orientation should feel authentic to avoid becoming intrusive. The goal is to generate closeness and interest, not discomfort. So, start with a slight lean and let the posture gradually become more intimate only if you perceive reciprocity in the other person's body language. Finally, different cultures have preferred interpersonal distances, so adjust for this factor as well. For example, Latin cultures are generally more comfortable with close physical proximity during socialization than Asian or Scandinavian cultures, Remland, 2016. In summary, the simple act of leaning our body axis towards someone when speaking facilitates warmer, more intimate and attractive social connections. So let's not be afraid to use this evidence-based trick to melt hearts with our body language. 4. Make compliments to boost others' self-esteem and attraction. Among the most ubiquitous and powerful social rituals for generating interpersonal bonds is the simple act of giving a compliment. Whether about someone's outfit, hairstyle, exceptional skills, or personality traits, verbally acknowledging another person's positive qualities has a profound effect on how we are perceived and on our subsequent relationships with them. But is there science behind effective complimenting? It turns out there is. Over decades of research in fields like social psychology, nonverbal communication, and neuroscience, experts have deciphered both the mechanisms and best practices for making our compliments have the most positive impact. Let's first examine why compliments are so effective for fostering warm social connections or signaling romantic interest. At the brain level, receiving a sincere compliment activates reward areas like the ventral striatum and nucleus accumbens, which are part of the dopaminergic system associated with pleasurable experiences. Scott, 2014. Simultaneously, areas like the insula and amygdala, linked to threats and negative social judgments, are inhibited. Chin, 2013. In essence, our brain is wired to generate pleasant feelings when others positively validate our qualities through their words. This also enhances our self-perception in the areas highlighted by the compliment, boosting confidence and self-esteem. At a behavioral level, receiving sincere praise also awakens a desire to please and connect more with the person who gave it. This is due to the psychological rule of reciprocity, where we tend to want to return the favor when someone treats us well first. Jorgensen, 2009. In a romantic or flirting context, this translates to the compliment recipient increasing their own seductive body language or attempting to create closeness and intimacy with the admirer. So, how can we make our compliments as effective as possible? Over decades, researchers have analyzed the characteristics that maximize the positive impact of verbally praising others. Here are 10 scientifically backed findings and recommendations to improve your compliments. Focus on non-superficial achievements or qualities. Highlighting abilities, talents, or personality traits has a better effect than focusing solely on appearance. Art, 2017. Spotlight skills the person has fully mastered. Acknowledging expertise generates pleasure and personal pride. Schlenker, 1996. Mention recent and specific achievements. This communicates that you're aware of their life and genuinely care. Include a memorable or original detail. Memorable compliments carry more weight because people will keep thinking about them afterward. Emphasize the effort behind the achievement. This highlights their attempts, discipline, and determination, not just innate talent. Be 100% sincere always. Humans are highly sensitive to false praise, which is counterproductive when detected. Approach warmly and make eye contact. This enhances your presence, closeness, and interest. Smile openly when giving praise. Smiles amplify the positive effect and signal support. Don't expect anything in return when giving praise. Compliment for the pure desire to highlight their qualities, not to gain an advantage. Pay attention to reactions and potential discomfort. Some people are more reserved and may not appreciate overly effusive compliments. Interestingly, science has also explored the effects of receiving praise for physical appearance, with somewhat ambiguous results. For example, one study found that when attractive strangers complimented someone's beauty, it improved self-esteem, attraction, and romantic interest in the complimenter. Habit, 1987. However, in established relationships, focusing excessively on physical attractiveness predicts lower long-term satisfaction. McNulty, 2016. Thus, a golden rule is to balance praise for appearance with compliments for deeper qualities to foster more authentic bonds. Finally, notable cultural differences have been highlighted. A cross-cultural study found that in individualistic cultures, people respond very positively to personal compliments, while in collectivist cultures, praise directed at the person's group affiliations is generally more effective. Guerrero, 1999. 5. Use colors to highlight our best physical and personality attributes. Beyond fleeting fashion trends, science reveals that certain colors can optimize our appearance, attract admiring glances, communicate positive personality traits, and even influence our own attitudes and mindset. By understanding the sophisticated psychological effects that different hues have on human perception, we can strategically choose which colors to wear to highlight our best physical attributes, project desirable personal qualities, and make an optimal impression on others. A large-scale meta-analysis on the effect of colors on interpersonal evaluations examined the results of 25 different empirical studies. Researchers found surprising cross-cultural patterns in how different colors influence perceptions of traits like attractiveness, kindness, aggression, and competence or status. For example, in the vast majority of studies, wearing black shirts was associated with higher social status, authority, and competitiveness in men. In contrast, warm hues like red were strongly linked to greater physical attraction and sexual attributes, though they were also associated with perceptions of less kindness or benevolence. The saying, "dress for the job you want," seems to have solid scientific backing if we choose wisely how to use the implicit language of colors to our advantage. Let's look at some concrete, psychologically proven examples to optimize the impact of our personal image. For job interviews or professional presentations, wearing dark blue tones inspires significantly more confidence in our abilities and seriousness. To enhance appeal during romantic dates, vibrant but not exaggerated red tones can boost seduction by activating brain reward centers and associating with sexual availability. Since antiquity, women aiming to project success, ambition, and competence in male-dominated settings can opt for burgundy tones, often linked to executive power. Pastel colors like pink are strongly associated with softness, femininity, and cooperation. Use them for social events where you want to give a warm and friendly impression. Pouillard, 2022. To convey creativity, energy, and dynamism, nothing beats bright orange, yellow, or fuchsia tones. However, be cautious not to overuse these vibrant colors, which stimulate both the mind and senses. Lebrec, 2013. Beyond their impact on others, we must also consider how different hues affect our own mood and motivation when wearing them. For example, multiple experiments have confirmed effects like red increasing quick and precise reactions in motor tasks, as well as greater tolerance for physical and mental pain. Feltman, 2014. Blue enhances creativity and holistic problem-solving. Mehta, 2012. Green facilitates sustained mental focus and reduces eye fatigue. Reed, 2022. Thus, not only will we appear better to others by using strategic colors, but we'll also optimize our own internal performance. This powerful tool can be applied in both professional and academic settings, as well as in socialization. Just remember to always avoid garish and indiscriminate combinations. In conclusion, by correctly applying these psychological principles and scientific discoveries about the impact of colors, we can literally open doors with our personal image, project desirable positive qualities in different contexts, and even enhance our own internal capabilities. So let's fully embrace the immense potential of choosing our colors wisely. 6. Move slowly and confidently to appear more attractive and important. Our body kinetics, the way we move and physically interact with the environment and others, communicates powerful messages that shape how we are perceived and how others interact with us. Science shows that moving in a slow, fluid, and confident manner creates an optimal impression of social status, importance, and interpersonal appeal. One study found that when participants watched silent videos of people walking, they automatically assumed that those moving more slowly had higher status and social importance. Montepare, 1987. This is because historically across cultures, higher and powerful classes didn't need to hurry anywhere, so a slow gait became a signal of social position. Another experiment analyzed impressions generated during speed dating events and found a similar phenomenon. Participants who moved more slowly and sat or stood up more gradually were consistently judged as more attractive and desirable by their speed dating partners, even when controlling for other variables like appearance or charisma. Bakar, Kulkarni, and Sankey, 2012. These findings are not isolated. In a meta-analysis of 47 different empirical studies on human attraction perception, researchers identified cross-cultural and gender patterns in which types of movements are consistently perceived as more attractive or beautiful. Morrison, 2010. For women, graceful and fluid movements significantly increased their attractiveness scores for both male and female evaluators. For men, the powerful combination was displaying firm but slower and steadier movements than other men when walking or changing posture. At the neurological level, there are also specialized brain circuits for detecting these subtle kinetic patterns to facilitate interpersonal attraction. Research from the University of Invers found a group of mirror neurons sensitive to seduction that activate powerfully in response to fluid and confident body movements in both observed men and women. So, in real practice, how can we consciously adjust our movement style to appear more influential and attractive? Here are 7 scientifically backed recommendations. Walk at a slightly slower pace than average, as if you're not in a hurry to get anywhere, creating an impression of confidence and control. Incorporate greater grace and fluidity into your daily body movements, avoiding abrupt gestures, especially in formal settings, as this is particularly effective when interacting with someone at a social event or date. Orient your body toward the person and make slow, gradual gestures when changing postures or moving, indicating focus and interest. Practice the art of sitting and standing more slowly in the presence of others to enhance the impression of personal security and elegance, but be careful not to overdo it and seem sluggish. When greeting someone with a handshake, move your arm with firmness and decisiveness, not abruptly. Kinetic control is powerful. Practice in front of a mirror walking in a straight line with an upright torso and slightly raised chin, optimizing perceived confidence. In summary, interdisciplinary research continues to find fascinating connections between our movement physiology and human interpersonal perception. By understanding these principles and with regular practice, we can shape our kinetics to project an optimal social impression and capitalize on the powerful ripple effect generated by our confidence and comfort in our own skin. 7. Do small favors to trigger the rule of reciprocity, increase Videos without sound judged those who had adopted power poses before the interview as more confident, attractive, and deserving of being hired. Just 2 minutes of expansive posing before the interview more than doubled their chances of getting the job. Another study found that people who stood more upright and slightly opened their arms while speaking were later rated by their speed dating partners as more desirable for a relationship. Carney, Cuddy, and Yap, 2010. The benefits of expansive body language go beyond initial perception too. In a longitudinal study, participants were taught to adopt high and low-power body postures in their real lives daily. Cuddy, 2015. After 2 weeks, those who practiced daily body expansion reported feeling intrinsically more confident, happier, and more proactive in facing challenges. How can we strategically leverage these fascinating findings from an emerging field called postural psychology? Here are 5 powerful, evidence-based habits to optimize your social interactions by subtly expanding your body language. Before stressful events like job interviews or dates, take 2 minutes in private to adopt power poses that boost your testosterone and confidence. The results might surprise you. When interacting with someone you're attracted to, subtly adopt open, space-occupying postures, like standing with legs shoulder-width apart and gesturing relaxedly while speaking. The more comfortable and close you feel to someone, the more pronounced your expansive posture can be. For example, you might gently place your arm behind your partner's shoulder. When greeting someone, add the subtle gesture of extending your hand vertically with a slight downward shake. This subtly symbolizes high status. Practice in front of a mirror adopting different power poses to find your optimal version, prioritizing comfort and alignment with your personality so that it becomes automatic over time. In conclusion, by using the science of cognition and postural dynamics, we can literally hack our internal chemistry and interpersonal perceptions in social contexts to maximize success and the positive influence we generate. So, chest out, chin up, and let's conquer the world. 9. Subtly mimic the other person's posture, gestures, and mannerisms to strengthen connection. Among the vast arsenal of nonverbal communication as a species, imitation plays an invaluable social role. Without it, we couldn't learn practical skills in childhood, empathize effectively with others, or even fall in love. Neurology shows that we have specialized brain circuits for mirroring and incorporating others' movements, some of which activate automatically when we see someone else move, whether to pick up a glass, cross their legs, or gesture while speaking. This neural choreography of imitation, called mirror neurons, forms the biological basis through which we can put ourselves in others' shoes. But imitation doesn't just make us more social, it can also make us more attractive. This was confirmed in an experiment where men and women interacted with an accomplice of the opposite sex, trained to subtly mimic some of their gestures, postures, and specific linguistic mannerisms. Measuring subsequent interpersonal attraction and desire for romantic closeness toward the accomplice, the results were astonishing. Those who were subtly mimicked showed 400% more interest in meeting the accomplice again. Similar effects were replicated in another study where imitation significantly increased the likelihood that someone would agree to dance with a stranger. Surprisingly, this imitation effect on attraction works even across opposing cultures, such as Western and Eastern ones. For example, when Americans saw photos of Japanese individuals mimicking their emotional expressions, they judged them as more competent and attractive for future interactions than if they saw neutral expressions. This is likely due to phenomena like psychophysiological synchrony. By mimicking us, these individuals align with our particular internal state. At the brain level, activity in mentalization and empathy areas also intensifies when we are mimicked by someone else, facilitating attachment processes that heavily depend on how much we feel our partner understands us. Indeed, studies confirm that the most satisfied and connected couples unconsciously mimic each other's body language far more than those with relationship issues. Julian, 2000. Overall, interdisciplinary research provides fascinating insights into the interpersonal power of imitation. How can we apply it to increase our own attractiveness and chances of seducing someone? Here are 5 evidence-based tips. At a party or social event where you're attracted to someone, subtly mimic their small gestures and postures. For example, if they rub their chin while speaking, do the same shortly after. This synchrony creates mutual affection. During a date, selectively mimic certain distinctive gestures or expressions of your partner. For example, if they frequently use the phrase, "I like that," incorporate it naturally into your own speech without seeming forced. When conversing with a group or someone you're interested in, It can be particularly effective to mimic their facial expressions in response to jokes or emotional comments. This will make them feel intuitively closer to you. After asking a question, use follow-up expressions like, "Tell me more about that," or "That's interesting, I never thought of it that way," to encourage the other person to elaborate. During key moments of physical closeness, like a first kiss, tilt your head at the same angle as your partner and mimic their lip micro-movements. This synchrony will spark emotional fireworks inside. In summary, through strategic but subtle nonverbal imitation, we can significantly enhance that mystical interpersonal connection, making people see themselves in us and feel as though they've known us forever. This is definitely a highly valuable social hack. 10. Ask questions to get others talking about themselves, activating powerful reward circuits in the brain. Within the vast toolbox of effective interpersonal communication, asking questions holds a central place. Whether to facilitate positive first impressions, generate deeper conversations, or even signal romantic interest, asking questions is a powerful way to create positive impressions, deepen conversations, and express romantic interest. Asking questions reinforces neurocognitive processes that allow us to feel closer and more connected to our interlocutor, as most people enjoy talking about themselves. In essence, most people love discussing themselves. When we ask questions showing genuine interest in the other person's life and opinions, it powerfully activates brain circuits linked to the reward system and recognition of high social status. This, in turn, creates a positive association with the person who facilitated this brain pleasure by kindly inquiring about them. Let's see what neuroscience says about why asking questions is so effective. A Harvard University team led by psychologist Diana Tamir studied which brain areas activated when participants spoke at length about themselves and their opinions for several minutes. The results were fascinating. The same regions linked to food and sex, the nucleus accumbens and ventromedial prefrontal cortex, lit up intensely when they talked about themselves. This explains why most of us find it so satisfying when our dates, friends, or loved ones ask sincere questions about our biography, tastes, thoughts, and deepest feelings. By giving us the opportunity to elaborate on these topics in a self-centered way, they activate brain areas directly tied to primal pleasure and social reward systems. Other research also shows a behavioral correlation. For example, when participants received questions about themselves before an interaction compared to impersonal topics, they judged the questioner as more likable and interesting, regardless of the question's actual content. Dolkos, 2017. Even 3 months later, they remembered them more vividly. Another study found that in the context of romantic speed dating, dates where more personal questions about dreams, anecdotes, and tastes were asked, had a higher chance of leading to a second date compared to interactions focused on small talk. The authors argue that questions activate affiliation and generate a perception of romantic interest, making the questioner more psychologically attractive. This also motivates the desire to repeat the rewarding experience of talking about oneself in a future encounter. Thus, the virtuous cycle of connection through personal questioning feeds itself. In practice, how can we implement these strategies more effectively to become better communicators, leave a lasting positive impression on new acquaintances, and make potential romantic partners feel an interpersonal chemistry with us? Here are 5 concrete recommendations. Prepare a list of questions in advance as a fallback to avoid awkward silences when interacting with someone new. When meeting someone you're interested in, steer the conversation toward personal topics like dreams, life anecdotes, and opinions rather than small talk. This will maximize their perception of connection. During romantic dates, actively ask the person about their tastes, stories, and unique aspects of their life. This shows your interest and encourages a deeper connection. After asking a question, use follow-up phrases like, "That's interesting, tell me more," or "That's fascinating, how did you develop that interest?" to prompt the other person to share more. For close friends or partners, occasionally ask unusual questions like, "If you could have any superpower, what would you choose?" These creative questions quickly stimulate bonding by revealing new facets of their personality. In conclusion, by asking skillful questions that encourage others to talk about themselves, we can become excellent communicators, leave a lasting and positive impression on new acquaintances, and make potential romantic partners feel an interpersonal chemistry with us. So let's take the initiative to talk less about ourselves and become fascinated investigators of the intriguing inner lives behind every face we meet. Who knows, we might find exactly what we're looking for. In summary, through the strategic use of well-crafted questions, we can transform any conversation into an opportunity to strengthen bonds, impress positively, and spark romantic interest. So, let's forget about talking about ourselves for a bit and become captivated investigators of the fascinating stories and experiences of others. This could well open the door to deeper and more meaningful relationships. By adopting these 10 science-based tips, you can not only enhance your social and romantic life, but also change your own perception of how you interact with the world. Each of these methods offers a way to showcase the best parts of yourself while recognizing and appreciating the qualities of those around you. Whether it's smiling more, maintaining eye contact, leaning slightly forward during conversation, giving sincere compliments, wearing colors that enhance your appearance and mood, adopting body language that exudes confidence, doing small favors, using imitative gestures to create rapport, or asking questions that encourage others to share their stories, each strategy is a powerful tool for creating authentic and lasting human connections. So, take these tips to heart and start putting them into practice in your daily life. You might be surprised by the positive impact they can have on your relationships and how they can transform your ability to connect with others in a meaningful and memorable way. This is how you can take charge of your social and romantic life and elevate it to the next level with ethics, confidence, and success.